I walked around school like a zombie. Everything felt surreal and I wasn't sure about what going to happen. So, what all things are going to be there in future, he was very uncertain about the things, very feeling very low and altogether depressed, and he was been feeling like he was walking like a zombie. Zombie means a lifeless body without any soul and life. So, he was been feeling like that, and in the same state of mind and body he went to school. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house and my cat had all been ripped away. So, everything which used to make him comfortable, which he adored for, he loved for those things, all those things were being ripped out, they were been just been out of his life, and he was been suffering that intense pain of losing all those near and dear things of his life. So, finally, he was being, as he walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever hadn't burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals they had used to put off the fire. So, while returning back to his home, on the way from his school to his grandparents' house, he just came across the same place where his house had been, and he just was been standing there assessing the damage and found that the complete house was been burned in a very disastrous manner, and whatever was been left also, that was also been damaged completely, it was of no use left now. So, the only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents and some other personal items that my mother had managed to heroically rescue. So, finally, only those things which they carried away, and his mother was able to rescue those things with a great risk, and only those things were being left with them now. There was no time to grieve. So, his mother was very determined. She did not just stayed for a moment and just kept looking back, thinking about what was been lost. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live, and I would have to go buy some clothes for school. So, finally, his mother forcefully made him to move ahead, to move on, to take some new steps and look ahead in the life with a new start, so that they could find a place to live, they can come up, purchase some new things, maybe the stuff for school, for the clothes for the school, and in this manner they started with a new start after the fire. We had to borrow money from my grandparents because there were no credit cards, cash, even my identification, any identification to be able to withdraw money from the bank. So, finally, they were out of money because everything was been burnt, and that is why they borrowed money from their grandparents. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared off the lot. So, finally, that debris, that rubble which was being the remains of that burnt house were being cleared off, and finally, they also managed a rented apartment near their house, which so that they can take care of the renovation, the rebuilding of their new house. So, finally, she was gone, and I kept thinking about, still the narrator was being engulfed in the memories of his cat, and I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. He was engulfed in the memories of that beautiful pet, the loving pet of his, that cat. In the early morning, when I would disturb her and get out of bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe and crawl my pocket in to fall asleep. So, finally, he was missing the cat terribly. He was remembering how they used to have a beautiful bond, how the cat used to tail him, just crawl into his pocket, and the way they used to spend the mornings. So, that is how he was been missing the cat very terribly at that moment. It always seems that bad news spread quickly, and in my case it was no difference. Everyone in the high school, including the teachers, was aware of my plight. So, in the school, everybody was being aware of the news that his house was being burnt, about his loss, how the damage has been done, and the way everybody was been looking at him with a pityful glance, and the people were just giving him a very pitiful attention, that was making him embarrassed. I was embarrassed as if somehow I were responsible, and he was feeling that all damage, all that fire was his responsibility, and that all those thoughts made him to feel that grief even intense. What a way to start off a new school. This was not the kind of attention I was looking for. So, he was feeling that he never liked that pitiful attention to be given to him in a new place. He just wanted to achieve something. He did not want it to be the person to be felt sorry for by everybody. So, that kind of attention was not been expected by the narrator. The next day at school, people were acting even more strange than usual. I was getting ready for gym class at my locker. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up. So, everybody was being just around him. They were trying to make him to move towards the gym as he was been getting ready for his gym class. I thought it strange, but in the light of the past few weeks, nothing would surprise me. So, he was been a bit shocked about that why people are being so strange, why they are behaving in that manner, why they are shoving him towards the gym. And everybody tried to shove me into the gym. Then I saw why. Finally, when he went inside the gym, he found the reason for which they were being behaving so strangely. There was a big table set up with all kinds of stuff on it just for me. They had taken up a collection and bought me school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, jeans, tops, sweatsuits. It was like Christmas. So, finally, that was the reason was that the students, they had made a collection, and out of that collection they have bought different stuffs which may be required by him, and all those stuff were being placed on a TT table just in the center of the gym, and finding all those new stuff over there being a gift for him made him to feel that cherished him, that probably all those gifts were making him to feel like all those gifts were being for Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. People who had never spoken to me before were coming up to me, introduced themselves. I have got all kinds of invitation to their houses. So, everybody was being very friendly. They were being cheering him up, they were greeting him, they were trying to make him to feel happier about all the things which they were being now you have got those gifts. So, they were giving him invitation that they should come to their house, and finally, they were making there was lot of things which were making him to feel friendly about that place. Their genuine outpouring concern was basically close to me, and their general outpouring concern really touched me. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and thought thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. I made friends that day. So, finally, things started getting towards the positive side. He also started getting those positive vibes in his heart. He was feeling friendly about people. He was cheerful, finding all those good things, and he was being happy to find new people being so friendly to him. And that very day he started making new friends in that school. A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild it, but this time it was different. I wasn't alone. I was with two of my new friends from the school. So, finally he got a company of two of his close new friends, and they were all been there in the house where it was being under a rebuilt, it was under reconstruction, and they were watching that the reconstruction which was going on. It took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity and open up to all the wonderful people around me. Now, I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. So, finally, he was feeling revived, he was feeling relieved with the friends, with the new friendly environment of the school, and he was been feeling that why that set of insecurity and deprivation was there initially, and he was now been coming out, but it costed him a lot. That complete fire incident which damaged his house was the cost of making him to come out of all those insecurities. So, finally, while we sat there on the crib planning my new bedroom, I heard someone walk up to me from behind and say, "Does this belong to you?" So, altogether there was a strange voice which just made them to look back, and there was a lady who just was been asking, does this belong to you? So, finally, he just turned and he was looking towards that strange voice, and what he found was that a woman was standing holding my cat. I leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arm. So, he was so happy to find and so excited to find the lady with the cat, and the cat was back with her, and he just grabbed the cat with lots of excitement, and finally he found that the cat was being back in his life, and he was so happy. I held her close to me and cried into that beautiful orange fur. He was so tearful, so happy to find the cat. She purred happily. My friends were hugging me, hugging the cat and jumping around. So, finally, it all went beautiful. It was so nice for the narrator to find his cat. He was hugging the cat. His friends were also being happy to find the narrator, so happy finding his cat back, and they all were being so nicely purring the cat. He was just trying to pat the cat, and he was tearful, and very happily he just held the cat close. Apparently, my cat had been so freaked by the fire that she ran over a mile away. Her collar had our phone number on it, but our phones had been destroyed and disconnected. This wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out whose cat it was. Somehow, she knew this cat was loved and sorely missed. So, finally, he was able to know that how his cat was being, it just ran away at that time. It found a way out, and it ran for a mile away, and it was being rescued by this woman, and she took nice care of the cat, and she took lots of efforts to find the narrator, though his number was out of order because of the fire. So, it took her a good enough time, a month, to find the real owner, because she found that the cat, the way the cat behaved, she was being able to assess that the cat was being loved terribly, and it must have been the owners must be missing the cat. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to diminish. So finally, he was been coming out of that feeling of insecurities which he had been built, he had developed over that time, and now everything was been pacifying, and he was coming out of all those insecurities, and he was been feeling happy, overwhelmed by getting his cat back in his life. So finally, with his friends, he was been feeling relieved from those insecurities. I felt gratitude for my life, my new friends, the kindness of the stranger, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. So everything was very fine. It was been happy moment for him to find all the new things, all the good things been happening in his life, and he was been feeling gratified that now his life is coming back, he is now on the right track, and his life is now getting wonderful. So with all his new friends and the way the strange lady, she brought the happiness back in his life in the form of his pet cat, and the cat's purring sound and the way she was been cuddling him. So everything was making him very happy, and he was feeling glad about that he was all alive, and he was finding the life to be wonderful. And with this comment, finally he ends the chapter with this beautiful remark, my cat was back and so was I. So both were back in the life. The cat was also back in the life, and so was the narrator. He also came out of that depressing phase of his life, and he was back in his wonderful phase of the life, which was altogether a new set of happy feeling for him. So this was all about the chapter here, students. I hope that you must have understood the various aspects of this beautiful, emotional, touching story, and I would suggest all of you to go through the PDF, and if whatever the queries you generate, just we will handle all those aspects in the live session. Thank you, students.